Good day peoples, and welcome back to another devlog. Now, in these last 2 weeks there wasn't a lot of coding progress to report on because I've been pretty busy with life. So the game plan for today includes a look at some new assets and what gameplay mechanics I've planned for them, and just a tiny dive into optimization. If you'd like to watch any particular section, feel free to jump to the timestamps down below. Alright, let's have a look at some of the new assets. My main focus right now is to get most of the models done that I need for gameplay purposes, but also make some decorations just to fill the space. For decorations, I made a little bin and a storage box in a few different colours, because of course we need a little bit of variety to gather around the levels. I know, it's not that exciting, but little details like this is what makes an environment feel lived in. Aside from that, I'm also working on elevators and transits. In general, just ways we can use to transition between levels and different areas. At the moment, every asset goes through a variety of stages before I'm happy with it. This is mostly because I'm still trying to find a look for every new asset that blends well with the rest of the environment. For the elevator in particular, the first version just looked way too boring and plain, so I tried something new, which was adding some colour to the walls. Absolutely revolutionary, I know. It took me a while to find a colour that fits, but I think the result is acceptable. As for gameplay mechanics, I've decided to add some sort of firearm after all. The idea is that you can shoot these canisters to make them explode and get the creature off your back if you need to, or shoot any of these pipes to break line of sight so you can hide or get away. I think it's a pretty nice way to give assets that were originally meant to be decoration some useful features. But stay tuned on this because we'll talk about this more in depth the next time. Now, I'd like to take the rest of the video to address something that I didn't even know was a concern until recently. Using Unreal Engine apparently has a bad reputation amongst players. Why? Well, it looks like players associate Unreal with badly optimized games. To be honest with you, it's not the engine's fault that devs don't take the time to optimize their games. You see, optimization starts at the same time as making or picking your first asset, and many people don't know how to or don't even bother to look into it. So what am I doing to optimize my game? First of all, since I'm making all the assets myself, it gives me maximum control over how the asset looks and is built. I'm keeping the detail and poly count to a minimum when modeling, and most of the detail actually comes from the texture. I don't have a single asset over 20,000 polys, apart from the character itself maybe, and even that is only slightly above. Another big thing people don't pay enough attention to is materials. Listen, no asset in history needs 5 materials with 4K textures, so unless you're doing ArcViz or you're working on a highly super realistic game, this is not necessary. Optimizing materials is actually not too difficult and has a lot of impact on the game's performance. First of all, we need to talk about draw calls. Now what the heck is that? Every single material slot on a single asset is one draw call, and for every one of these materials, the engine has to find the associated textures and load them in. I think you can see why this is a bad idea. All we have to do is combine assets together and pack everything into one UV map, and ultimately, just use one material. In Blender you just grab all your pieces and unwrap them together to put them onto one UV map. To take it a step further, you can merge all your objects into a single mesh before exporting, and then just go back a few steps to keep things separate in case you need to make changes later. For the actual materials, I use a limited set of master materials, one for normal materials, one for emissive, and one for windows. Why these? Science hats on for this one, guys. Each of these uses a different set of texture maps. Our vanilla material only uses 2 to 3 maps, which is base color, the AORM, and maybe a normal map if the asset needs it. Now what the heck is an AORM map? AORM or ARM stands for Ambient Occlusion, Roughness and Metallic. That's right, it's the combination map. If we look at these maps separately, you can see that they're all grayscale. You can see where this is going, right? If we don't combine these maps, we would have to plug 3 separate textures into our material, and also store 3 separate texture files, which uses memory and storage space. So we take advantage of the fact that every single texture consists of 3 color channels. All we're doing now is to assign each of the maps to one single channel and we're done. If you're using Substance Painter, there's pre-made export settings for this, but if you don't, you can also do this yourself in Photoshop. If you're using this texture, don't forget to disable sRGB in the texture settings, because we don't want any color correction on this map. Back to the actual material, based on how I texture each asset, I make a new instance of the master material for it. This saves us so much memory compared to making a new material for every single asset. The difference here is just that the emissive material has an additional emissive map, and the window one has an opacity map. If I'm not texturing any normal details, I also don't export a normal map, and then in-engine just use my default normal, which is currently a 128 by 128 single color texture. Even that is still a bit too big. I just wanted to try it, but I'll probably change it to a single pixel eventually. One thing you should always keep in mind when making a game is what you can't see doesn't have to be there. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider leaving a comment, like, or subscribe. I'm still working on getting the volume right and how to edit videos properly, so please bear with me while I figure things out. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!